Welcome to another Mother Fiction Writers podcast. I'm the host, Stevie. You can find me at Escapes to Books on Instagram. I did join Threads now, too. That's the big thing. I have no clue what I'm doing yet, but it's all right. It's new, exciting. And I'm hoping to form a good writing community through there as well. So if you're part of the writing community, look me up there. But today I'm super excited because we have our first returning guest. Anastasia is here, and I'm excited. We're going to talk about all kinds of things from traveling to writing to maybe even a little social media. So I'm going to jump to her and let her kind of explain what she's been up to since we last talked to her.
Hi. So, just basically been writing and living a very boring life.
Me too.
Well, traveling a little bit, so not all that boring.
Right, that's always a good time. Yeah. And the querying, are you still doing that, or have you kind of stepped back a little bit?
I'm still querying. I'm doing them like in monthly batches. So like twice a month, I'll be like, okay, I'm gonna, send out like 5 queries or 10 queries.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
Just to kind of like keep track of like who all I'm sending it to, and
right.
just kind of like limit the number of rejections.
Oh yeah, there's only so many. I understand that. It would be so crushing sometimes, but also like exciting when you first send them, like hoping this will be the one, and it'll come.
Yeah, because it's one of those that's like I'll send out 5, and sometimes it'll be a case of like 5 will come back with no's immediately. Sometimes like 2 no's and then silence for a couple of
waiting game.
I did get a full request a couple months ago, like 2 months ago, I'd say.
Nice.
But yesterday they came back and they're like, thank you, but no thank you.
Bummer. Well, you know what? But that's like a little slice there, Sometimes that's all you need to keep being like, okay, there's something we're on here. Yeah. Well, I wish you all the luck with that, because I know as so many other authors are in the same process and feeling the same way. So you're definitely not alone. And I know that someday, I love everything. If you follow her on Instagram, she shares snippets once in a while, and they're always so good. They're very magical and whimsical, and I love them.
Yeah, I'm trying to get back into the sharing snippets of things, because I've kind of been on a, not so much a social media break, but just haven't been inspired on what to create for my content. So I end up just making like stupid little writing memes and calling it a day, because I'm like, well, here, the algorithm is something.
I know. I've been doing the same thing because summer is so busy, and like June was just a mess, emotional, mentally, and just a mess, So I kind of stepped back. Like I used to post 1 to for sure 2 times every day. And I have not been, I'm lucky to post once a day anymore. So
yeah, the last couple of weeks, it's lucky if I post once a week.
So. Yeah. And sometimes that's good though, especially in these summer months when we're outside more and enjoying, you need a break from that, from staring at screens, especially us writers who that's what we do.
Exactly. It's our whole existence is just staring at a screen.
Yeah. So, okay, I'm going to jump in. So you talked that you've been traveling a little bit, taking a step back from social media. I'm really excited to talk. She not only traveled, but stayed at a tree house. How magical is that?
God, that was awesome. The Balanced Tree House, and I think it's Armagh. It's in Northern Ireland, but anyway, it's called the Balanced Tree House on Instagram. And yeah, we stayed there for my 33rd birthday, and
that's awesome.
Just be in nature, just like reset, and it was so incredible. Like,
did you feel just kind of like almost like you're engulfed in like magic, like just real like a very scene where you almost like a fairyland, like that kind of stuff? That's how it felt when I was looking through your eyes.
Yeah, it was definitely like I was in some sort of like fairy tale or magic realm, kind of like I'd step through a portal into something, and I was like, oh my god, all the ideas.
Right. Did you write? Were you able to write at all then traveling?
I did. I was able to do like a little bit of writing in terms of like I wrote kind of like little themes or bits of dialogue that came to me. Mostly like when I do travel, when I like write when I'm traveling, it's more just kind of getting ideas. So I'll be like, oh, here's a brief like summary thing that I can build on, and this would be like a great story world sort of a thing. So that's why I was trying with like my various notebooks, because there's one for, you know, my plot ideas, there's one for character ideas / descriptions. Just like a tiny little travel journal that I have that I just write in, where I'm like, okay, so today we did XYZ, saw this and that. Just kind of like documenting my adventures. And then obviously like my daily planner, various assortments of other.
No, that's good. I do too. And I need to maybe invest in some smaller notebooks. I always have just like these big old school, what we used to have like in school, you know, 5-star, whatever those were called, like trapper notebooks and stuff. But I usually always have one of those. I'll pick it up as like a brand new thing when we're traveling, because usually what happens, instead of inspiration for my current work in progress, it'll be like inspiration for something new, and I'll just start jotting ideas and characters down. But then it's nice too, even if it's a new idea and you're not gonna immediately come home and work on it, it's still nice to be like, I have this idea for when I'm ready, you know?
Exactly. Yeah. And it's never, because I went with the intention of like, I had a particular short story I was working on at the time. So I went with the intention of, I am going to finish the short story while in the treehouse. I only have 15,000 or 1,500 words left on it. So I didn't touch it.
Did it? It's hard. It is.
I thought about it.
That you know matters. Thinking about it, and when you're thinking about it, you're probably thinking ideas and how you would like to put, what kind of words you want to put in those 1,500 words you have left. So that's still something, and I'm sure you got a lot of inspiration, just like I said, ideas, just to be like, this is how I want to finish it. This is how, that kind of stuff.
And then the day after the treehouse, we went hiking around like the Sleeve-Gullion Valley. So it's basically like a little valley with like 3 different mountains around it.
Cool.
And that was so gorgeous. Like,
went
to a forest park, did like a little, you know, hour hike around. I was like a little, you know, kid in a candy store around being like, oh my god, look at all this roof, like this would make a great story for this or that. So.
And nature is like seriously such a good like creative point, like mind opener, you know what I mean? Like there are so many days where I'm just like blocked. I can't get out because I've been in 4 walls, you know, for all day staring at screens. Go outside and just walk through even our park that I've been to a million times my entire life, and I will feel inspired. It's just getting into nature. There's something about it. And
also the ocean, like that's like my go-to, because like I love forests, nature and stuff like that, but like my absolute go-to where I know I will get inspired for something is the ocean. Like just 5 minutes sitting on the beach listening to the waves, and I'm already like, oh, okay, so this is a great
and you love sirens. That's like one of your top thing, like mythical creatures and stuff, right? So I can only imagine that probably starts spinning every time you go into the ocean. You have a work in progress that's a siren, or is it a finished one?
Oh, it's a work in progress.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
There's
so,
actually several. I have one that's a actual like book length work in progress, and then like 3 different short stories.
okay. See, I love that because that is like that's your thing. Just like for me, it's like I don't even know how to explain it. It's like somewhere a mix between like fairies and mages, kind of, like high fae, I guess you could say, where they've got elemental magic. That tends to be a lot where I throw in things. And yours is just sirens, and I love that. I wish that I could. I've got one as well, like a siren one, but sometimes I get stuck. Maybe I need to go to the ocean.
Yeah. Yeah. Go to the ocean, I'd say like around like the late afternoon just before it becomes sunset. And that's usually like that time of day around the ocean for me is like the most because you can just like almost picture
Right.
like sirens just like
Like they're just waking up kind of thing coming out. Yeah, that is cool. I like that. Well, and I also, do you notice like different areas of the ocean inspire you a little bit more than others? Like there's a little, or is it just the entire thing?
Well, I mean, like I'd say because like Ireland has like a lot of like rough coastline where there'd be, like little sea caves that would just naturally occur in coves. So those kinds of areas is where my mind really goes.
Oh yeah, I can only imagine.
With like ideas for, mermaids and sirens. And
like it just seems magical. It seems like there's something hidden there to unlock.
Yeah. There's this one place down in Waterford, I think, Portally Cove. That place is gorgeous, and yeah, like I went last year for my birthday, and
oh nice.
Yeah, that's where I was kind of like, that's where the 3 different short stories got.
Okay, I like that.
Like I want to write about this and I want to write about that. So.
Yeah, that's awesome. Because for me, so when I've gone to the Atlantic side, I've never gone to like the Gulf of Mexico or anything. So we'll see if that ever, if I get there, I'll get there. But so I've been to the Atlantic side a few times and I like it. I always have a good time there, but I don't feel inspired as I do when I've gone to the Californian coast, all different areas. And it's just more rocky. Maybe I need to go up North Atlantic. I feel like that's probably a little bit more rocky up there. But I get really inspired just from the waves splashing and the sounds and like the rough. I feel like Pacific is a little bit more rougher in areas. And I find that very inspiring. I always do. I have all kinds of ideas start exploding. And I always think about how I should just move here because and I can sit on a rock as the water is splashing around, that like aesthetic. I'm sure
every writer, anytime they travel anywhere, they're like, should I move here?
Right. I know. It's true. I do that all the time. Because Lake Superior, I was not expecting to fall in love with it. We're going back up there at the end of this month. And I was not expecting to fall in love with that so much because I've been to Lake Huron, I've been to Lake Michigan as well, and they're beautiful. But it was just something, it looks like an ocean. And like when we were there, it was before the real rough sea, like roughness starts. It was early October and the water was so crystal blue clear. It was pretty calm. And oh my gosh. And then like the rocks we went to, I'm going to probably screw this up. I always want to say painted rocks, pictured rocks. One of those names up there. And just the formations had so many colors within them. I was just like blown away. It was so cool.
Yeah. Do you ever like when you're traveling to places, especially like kind of natural places, do you ever look up like local folklore, like legends and stuff to just kind of, like,
I do. I definitely do. And if it's not while I'm there, it's before we go. So then I already kind of like have it. My husband loves to do that as well. And then, you know, like most places have their signs and like little meanings for all these different rocks and different places, how this came to be. And so I'm the type that I have to stop and read them and take my time because of inspiration. It is a little bit inspiration and awe-inspiring and stuff like that. So yeah. Do you do that?
Yeah, I definitely do that because I'm always well, when I'm looking for places to go to, so it's like, ooh, if there's like, you know, a cemetery or something around,
Yeah.
like I'm always down for a good, like, you know, inspiration for like a gothic something.
Yeah.
But I also just kind of like seeing what people throughout history have thought of their area in terms of like magic things. Like, are there any legends of like fairies in the area?
Right. Oh, and Ireland
Yeah.
just filled with them, all kinds of lore of, yeah, the fairies. And that's something. We've had another writer who was talking about how her work in progress, her last Nano work in progress on here, she was so inspired from Ireland's, you know, folklore and all that. And I'm like, I really need to read more into that because they have so much.
Yeah, they definitely do. I could always like send you like books from the local bookstore because they have like a section that's just,
Yeah.
you know, different kinds of like Irish folklore and
No,
stuff.
please do.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's definitely different than like what you would find online or, you know,
Yeah.
stuff like
Mhm.
that. Because
Well, and that's, yeah, sometimes that's hard too, trying to find the right, because even like looking up, like I'll type in the type of lore I'm looking for, and then you just get bombarded with all kinds of stuff, and you're like, would this be right? I've bought books where it's like, this wasn't exactly what I was looking for, you know, and stuff. But then there's some books where I'm blown away, and this is, every page is just another idea breakthrough for me, you know, and stuff. Have you been reading a lot of that? Then what do you read more in the summertime?
in the summertime, I tend to like I do a lot of like, you know, either rom-coms. I love reading
Mhm.
rom-coms in the summer, or just my usual like, you know, YA fantasy.
Yeah. I didn't know if it changes because my mood definitely changes in the summertime compared and then in the autumn, I like to read, I'll pick up anything to do with vampires, witchy, all that, maybe even a horror or a thriller. But in the summertime, my reading definitely goes more into mythology. It goes more into lighter, like you said, rom-coms. So then I'll read a lot more like, I think it was last summer or maybe even 2 summers ago. I read all the Ice Planet Barbarians in like a month. And
That's on my to be read list because I saw a video on I think it was TikTok, like one of those like little short videos, just
yeah.
basically like saying, oh, this is kind of like the summary and why you should read it. And I was
Oh,
like,
yeah.
oh God, this sounds so awesome. I need to get my hands on it.
That book so I read it as a buddy read with two of my friends back home. And we kind of did it just because it was a time when that book kind of first blew up. And I was like, let's try this, you know, let's see what this is all about. Thought it was going to be kind of silly and a joke and stuff. I fell immediately in love. It's like the characters. Ruby Dixon just does an amazing job with all the characters, and even though it's kind of like a spicier read, she does such a good job at bringing in real feelings, the connections, the I'm not gonna go on all the time, but it's and there's a reason, and each book is a specific, you know, different couple and stuff, and some of them are just so humorous, they'll keep you laughing. So they are, if you're ever looking for something that's easy to read, heartfelt, and just kind of I don't know, you almost just can't stop, like you feel connected to it, yeah, then I say try it.
Okay, will do.
Yeah. Because it is. I think that's why I read it in the summer, because it was just so easy going. Plus, they're on a cold planet. We're stuck in the heat, even though I love heat and hot. I would not survive in cold.
Yeah. In the autumn and especially like winter time, I tend to do more of like I call it my research reading.
Okay.
When I'll do like, looking at mythology, folklore, or stuff like that, where I'm like, okay, so I'm gonna be having ideas coming up in spring, like a lot of ideas. So
yeah,
like start like plotting out things, getting things ready for like when the true writing.
Yeah, because like in the winter time, you've got nothing else to do, so of course you're gonna be writing a lot more. Yeah. Where I think the heat and the warmth and the sunshine, I do write a lot in the winter time, and like when the kids go back into school, that's why I do really well. Like I love getting involved in NaNoWriMo, because that's usually when I really start to pick up again. But there is something about the summertime and the heat. I love sitting outside and just enjoying. We've got a nice big tree that keeps me shaded and stuff. And so I do like to write outside a lot, but it's definitely in spurts. It's not like I can just be like every single day I'm able to write,
Yeah, no, I get that. Like in summertime for me, I'm much more of like the 30 minutes to an hour sprint kind of writing, where it's like, okay, I'm gonna go to my cafe, I'm gonna order an iced latte, I'm going to like sit there for an hour, max like hour and a half, and then just like really, really just
get what hash out what you need to get out and stuff. And in the summertime, I do also notice that my writing is more of like a lot of it. I always say like your initial, when you first sit down to write, it always is just a bunch of jumble of words, but that is really what it is. When I'm sitting outside, I have an idea and I get a bunch of, but I'm trying to be like, this is my only time to write. So I just go, type it all out, and then deal with the mess later, that kind of thing.
Yeah, that's how I'm trying to like write all year round, is just to get it out and then with it later.
Yep. Yeah. Well, and like in the winter time, I do a lot more write it out and immediately go in and edit then, that kind of stuff. Where summertime, I might get it out and then it might sit around for a couple days before I get to edit it and stuff, that kind of thing. Go back and look at it. And then, so do you have any more travel plans this summer, or?
Well, in September, I'm going back home to California for a month to see my parents. So
yeah,
I'm super excited for that. And I'll be spending a lot of time with family and friends, but also trying to get in like that, Southern California.
Yeah.
I guess. Because like I do find myself sometimes like starting stories or things that are based in California.
Okay.
Kind of like want to go back and just like, so
there is something about the Pacific Ocean, I swear, that just is so inspiring. I love it. Just like, because it's not like like when you think of like Ireland, you think of course, like the cliffs and the rockiness as well. And like you were saying, the caves
and wind.
Yeah. But it's more it's real green and the rocks look so different. Where in California, you've got more of the crashing against just these really bright rocks, and like stuff like that. And then the sunshine and different coves and stuff like that. There is something that's very inspiring about the Pacific kind of there.
Yeah, and also like the plants that grow out there, like they're not as green as they would be in Ireland, but like they also have like very bright flowers and stuff.
Yeah.
And like that, just like with the ocean in the background. Yeah,
because you get like the ferns and stuff like that too, kind of in like the coves and everything. But then you have more of like where it gets a mix of the desert kind of plants and stuff too. And then you got the lizards. I love it. It's just something that's so very inspiring. I also found the desert. So I was blown away so California, I didn't realize how barren the more inner area gets. Like from Arizona over to California, we stayed 2 nights just in that area. Now I forget exactly what I have, even like a shirt that says it, but oh my gosh, you're talking like flat deserts, not even cactus there. And like the mountains there, how rocky they are, and you just feel like there's secrets going on in that area. You know what I mean? Yeah. I was so inspired. And talk about grabbing a notebook and jotting out. Like my husband was probably sick of me because I'm like, it was like this full on, almost like Roswell type story. Like, oh my God, now it just makes me want to dive back into that story.
Yeah, like I think probably because I've been on a bit of a fantasy kick lately where I've been just writing a lot of fantasy.
Yeah.
Which is like, lush other realms that are
Mm-hmm.
viciously similar looking.
Yeah.
But I know that when I go back to California, like it's gonna, switch over to sci-fi, other planet because of
it does. Yeah. And maybe that's why, because I don't write a lot of sci-fi. I don't read enough sci-fi either to really get the wheels going and stuff. But I love sci-fi. Like when I do read it, I love it. I'm like all in. I find it so interesting, and I find it's so vast. You can go anywhere. You can do anything. It's like fantasy, but even deeper. And maybe that's why I get overwhelmed a little bit to like dive in too much. But you have a sci-fi work in progress though, right?
Well, the book that I'm querying, that one's a sci-fi one.
Yeah. So you do love sci-fi. And and is that something your wheels really start turning and stuff besides sirens and fantasy?
Yeah, besides sirens and fantasy, sci-fi is the other one that I'm like, oh, this is so fun. I love it.
Right.
Yeah. And it's also like that whole thing of, just the California desert really gets you feeling like you're off on some distant.
Yeah. It just seems like such a new world in and of itself because, you see, at least like when I'm looking up, I love to watch national park things and look up stuff like that. What is it? Anza Borrego. All of a sudden it broke into me. That area. Do you know what I'm talking about? Yeah. Anza Borrego. Yeah. I'm probably saying it so wrong, but I was so in love with that area that I bought a t-shirt and like I said, went all crazy with like a story and stuff. I loved it. It was so just unique. But you see things like you see Utah, you see Arizona with the Red Rocks, and obviously Colorado. People are always talking about those places. And so I think that's why it blew me away when I went to that area in California, because I had never really, obviously we did a little bit of studying ourselves, but it's nothing like when you get there, It's just so unique. My son hated it. My son was like, no, this is where like, dangerous things happen. And he was like, there's no water. He was not having it. He's like, get me to the ocean.
Oh, it's too funny. But yeah. Like he's not wrong. Like I would hate to be stuck out there, like, have my car break down or
for sure.
Like that, because that's just, that would not be good at all.
It would. I know it is. It's definitely the barrenness, but I think that's what gets the wheels turning as a writer, and stuff. And I'm not like a spooky. I mean, I write dark fantasy, but not really spooky or thrillers. But sometimes sci-fi can really get that way.
Oh, it can. Yeah.
So
I've been listening to a lot of Clark's World, the magazine. Like they have a podcast, so they'll just kind of have someone read out stories that have been published on their site and stuff. And some of them can get like really dark.
Really?
Like they're really well written and like, you know, such great ideas and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, just like hearing them read out loud, you're like, oh my god, this is
There's
so scary.
chills. Yeah.
Yeah.
There was a story that so I homeschool my one son, and sometimes when we have like extra time, there was a podcast. Now I can't remember the name of it. It was one that he likes to listen to, but it goes over stories. I mean, it can be of all kinds of, whether it was of running into like the fae, or finding a portal, or like just these stories that were written long ago, whether someone just put it in their old newspaper or whatever. And I found that super inspiring too. So we would listen to that once in a while.
Yeah, I definitely want to know the name of that podcast because that sounds fun.
Yeah, he's not here, but I'll have to ask him, because we even brought it up the other day, because I was like, I kind of miss it, you know, like talk about, you kind of miss when you get used to things that throw inspiration your way, and you're kind of in that area where you need inspiration. You're like, oh, what was that one thing? What was that? So we talked about it like a week ago. So I'll have to ask him. And he knew right away what I was talking about. So I will.
Again.
I know. He'll be like, Mom, why can't you ever remember these things? I'm like, I don't know.
Write it down, Mom.
I know. It's so true. So we talked a little bit, I'm going to jump to something else here. We talked a little bit about social media. So you're kind of taking a little bit of a step back from it. Have you found that it helps you or hinders you as a writer?
Well, it definitely helps me in that, like, it frees up my time where I'm like, I get back, you know, an hour or two in my day to, you know, just write or and think about writing. Or do some reading. So it's helpful in that way, but it also just, I feel just kind of guilty because I feel like I should be also growing a following, creating the brand, you know, because like I feel like nowadays, whether you're traditionally published or self-published, like it all ties into social media and having like that basis behind you. So it almost feels like if I go a day without doing something on social media, that I'm somehow like setting myself up for
not doing enough. Yeah, I feel that way too. I get it. Even from the little bit that, so like I said, June was hard. I didn't post a lot. I took 2 weeks off, and then I've definitely like not been as active and stuff like I used to even get so hardcore as like I was in engagement groups and stuff like that. Well, I haven't been doing those as much and everything, which is actually nice because it gives your brain the freedom to be creative. I feel like sometimes social media, it's great. But I have noticed just from stepping away that little bit, I don't have as much interaction. My videos aren't being as viewed and stuff like that, which is fine because that's why I'm stepping back, you know, is to not worry about that so much. But it does make you feel like if I just take a little break, then I'm going to be, all my work is for nothing, you know?
Exactly. Like the algorithm's just kind of going to like blacklist you and be like, no, we're pushing you to potential viewers, which it sucks, but it's something that you just sometimes need to do. Like I've seen
for sure.
Yeah, I've seen actually a lot of like the writers that I follow on social media kind of like they've been posting things similar where it's like, you know, I need to take a step back from social media for myself. I need to do this and that. And like I get it. Like it's hard to constantly be on.
It is.
And creating something and like, you know, finding a reason to post something because, you know.
Well, and balancing the time because even like the simplest of reel still takes about 10, 20 minutes out of your writing time to create, to post it, and then interact and stuff, you know. So it definitely, a lot of times anymore, if I don't just start my day by posting, then I have kind of forgotten about it. So that's where I'm at right now in the summer. I'll then kind of either not do it or I won't do it till really late. Where usually I am first thing in the morning, and then I would do like in the afternoon. And I know once summer's done, I'll probably get back into that, especially with my Kindle Vella stories and like that stuff. I don't want to just be, you still want to have like, or for me, I want to have an aspect of the marketing and stuff, but I definitely haven't been doing that like at all. Like you said, it's been more simple, like throw that funny thing on with a little tag or whatever, tagline.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, I also, cause like, I was thinking like later on this year, probably later in the summer, maybe like starting like a blog or something. Like
Okay.
blog. So I'd want to, kind of start posting more to drum up interest in that and start, that whole vicious cycle of you get people to
I know. Maybe they'll go here.
And through their blog, you get them back to your social media, and it's just
right.
So, so at some point, like I will probably be more focused on social media.
Yeah.
But for right now, I'm kind of enjoying the just get up, do my writing, do work, go for a walk in the afternoon if it's not raining.
Yeah. I get that. That's kind of where I'm at right now too. Yeah. It's more like when I have that free time, I want to, because I don't have a lot of free time in the summer. So I want to be writing then. I want to be furthering my story. I want to do that kind of stuff or work on the podcast. I do love the podcast as well. But then that too, there's not going to be views without social media, and like posting all that stuff. So and like you said with your blog, so I have been working on a website since like January. And I really wanted to get it done when I posted or once I started Vella. But it's still sitting there, basically done. But I just know that's another aspect of social media that I have to be like, oh, hey. And then I have to, whether I write once a week on there, that's just another thing. And I'm like, I'm not quite there yet. Almost got to prep myself to be like, so probably when the kids go back, I really will focus back on that kind of a thing. The website, kind of throw that in there.
Yeah, no, I get you.
Yeah.
Because it's all like, it is a vicious cycle, I feel like, as writers, where we're expected to do all these things in order to, have some sort of shot at being successful. So it's not just putting work into our craft, it's also marketing ourselves on social media, creating other channels for people to find us. And yeah, it's kind of intense sometimes.
Yeah, it is. It is kind of an overwhelming feeling. Like, am I doing enough? Oh, I'm doing too much. Like that kind of a thing and stuff. And that's why so many, whether you're an indie author or a traditionally published, you'll see that they'll be real active when a book is about to come out or during their writing journey. But when the editing comes down, so many of them just are like, I'm done. I'll be gone for a month, Because you do. Editing is so, harsh and intense anyways. It's like you have to give it your all and stuff.
It is, yeah. I've actually thought about like on maybe like TikTok or like Instagram or something, like if I'm editing, I could like maybe just go live.
Okay. I don't know how people do that. I'd be so distracted.
Yeah, I probably.
But a lot of people do it. Yeah.
But like, I'm like, well, that would be a way to like, tick off the box of doing my social media, but also just kind of like, I'm just there doing what I need to do, and people can come and go and stare at me as they want.
Right. There are so many people who do that. And I've always talked to my husband about that as well. Like, maybe it could be a way to hold yourself accountable because you can be like, hey, I'm going live at this time on this day,
make sure I do my work.
Yeah. But I also feel like knowing that I was live would probably this is for me only, like me. I would probably get in my head and feel like I needed to like talk and interact with the people because I just would feel like it was an awkward silence situation. Like I said, that's just me. I don't know. I'm so I love that people do that. There's so many people who have literally done that, and that's how they wrote their book, and that's so cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think I might try that one of these days, just because, like, yeah, like I'm comfortable making reels and, you know, showing my face or like talking and, you know, giving my opinion on like a book that I like or something. But I don't know, like there's still that thing of live videos that just like scares me somehow.
Yeah.
Why? So I think like by the end of the year I will try to have conquered that by doing at least one live. Maybe during like NaNoWriMo in November. I might go live every day at 5 a.m.
And who knows? Maybe it'll be yeah, maybe it'll end up being the thing that drives you. Maybe it'll be the thing that you love, and you're like, this is a great way to get my stuff done. I mean, what's the harm? I always figure, what's the harm in trying something? You know,
exactly.
Like, you're never gonna know unless you do it. So it could be for you, could be not. Would you do it? So you were talking nano. Oh, that's what I wanted to talk about too. Nano. So you are currently doing Nano, the camp, right? They always do a camp in April and a camp in July. I did do it in April. I didn't do very well, but I did do it. I decided after June that I didn't want to push myself for July, but I'm so excited. So how is it going for you?
It's definitely going a lot better than the April one because April, like I was like, oh, I'm gonna write a novella.
Yeah.
I got like 5,000 words into it.
Hey, that's still 5,000.
And that's a wrap on that.
Yeah.
But this is going a little bit better. Like I've written 3 short stories so far.
Oh, good.
Yeah,
nice.
Varying lengths. One was only like 1,000 something. The other 2 were like around the 3K mark.
Okay. So hey, that's huge. I mean, that's 3 stories to put under your belt. That's 3 stories that you can be like, I started and I finished.
Because like my because I organize my desktop such that like I have folders, like different folders for everything. So in my short stories folder, I have a folder for all the stories that need editing, all the stories that need to be finished that I've like, you know, started, and then ones that are ready for submission, and then ones that have been published. And the editing folder was very, very sparse. There was maybe like 1 story in there from like years ago.
Okay.
And the to be finished folder was getting very, very
overwhelmed. Yeah, that's my problem. Like, that's why I'm currently.
We need to change this. It's time to move some of these to the editing ones. So yeah, I hope to have 3 more short stories finished by the end of Camp NaNoWriMo. So hopefully that'll be 6.
Good luck. You're on a roll already.
So.
Yeah, fingers crossed. I mean, you're doing awesome. So I have no doubt that you'll accomplish your goals. And also, how do you stay so organized? Because I love that you have all these different, that's what I need to get. One, I need to find a specific, so what do you usually write on? We might have talked about this last time.
I usually write in like Word documents. So sometimes I'll do like the notes app on my phone if I'm either in public and I'm like, ooh, idea, or if it's like, you know, 3 a.m. and I'm like,
I
know. Yeah, I've got to write it down before I forget it. So yeah, like the Word documents usually like
the main one. Yeah. And then is that where you organize it, or do you have a whole separate area where your folders are?
Oh, I just have like folders on
like computer folders. Yeah, that's what I thought, but I had to ask because I also know there's all these different programs and stuff, but it and I really need to start organizing my brain, my thoughts, my documents. So currently, because I use a Chromebook, it's great and I absolutely love it. I can't have the full version of Word, so I use Google Docs for the most of my writing, and then when I'm ready to format and do stuff like that, then I transfer it over to Word. I also use, but it's like I have so many different things, because then after I write it out, then what I do is I have Grammarly within that. I go through all that with that edit. Then I have to go to Pro Writing Aid and do that. But I feel like there's got to be a simpler program out there that doesn't cost an arm and a leg. That's the problem. I don't want to be spending hundreds of dollars and.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like, I feel like that's something that would be a great question for like book talk or like writer camp or something, because like I feel like there's a lot of people out there that would have, you know, different programs and stuff to organize things.
I know for Apple users, there's like one, I can't think of what it's called right now, but there's one that a lot of them that I've talked to, that's what they use, and it's like $200 or something like that. What?
Is it Pages?
I don't know. It could be. I can't remember, and I'm probably not going to be able to remember. But I know there's been specifically 2 authors that I've talked to that's their main thing, and it has everything kind of like for you right there. Formatting, it has your editor, it has all that stuff. But then I also have heard from a few Scrivener. So I've thought about that one a few times.
Yeah, I've heard of that one too. Like, that one seems to be one that, you know, I'll see if people are like, oh, what I use as a writer kind of a thing. Like, Scrivener is usually one of the things.
Oh, I think it starts with an A. I think I just had it in my head and now I'm like lost. But I could be totally wrong. Maybe someone on the internet can help us out. But that's what I was wondering, because you seem to be super organized. So I thought maybe like you always do.
It's only because that's just like the tip of the iceberg of my disorganization. So what you see as organized is like the tiny little bit that is actually organized. The rest is under the surface.
Right. I know. And that's why I'm still very old school. Like I said, I've got my notebooks, and what I usually do is for every different project that I have, I have a different 5 subject notebook. And so it's like for the world building, like each of those different sections is like world building, characters, and, you know, plotting and like that stuff, which I'm not a plotter at all. I'm very much a pantser, but there are certain things, because of the stories that I write with the magic and the worlds and stuff like that, I try to be a little bit organized in that way. But honestly, that's about as organized as I get. And then my goals, I do try to write down like, here's my goals for the week or whatever, you know, that kind of thing.
That's what I usually put in my like little daily planner, is just kind of like because I have this one that like it's not dated, so you can use it, you know, whenever. It's great because sometimes like I'll miss a day or something. And okay, we're just gonna start now, 17th, and like that'll just kind of help me organize like my days, where I'm just kind of like, okay, so if I get up by like 7 a.m., I can be in the early cafe at like 8 o'clock. I can be back by 9. I can, you know, do this, stuff like that. So that helps a lot for me to like not be too disorganized if I know like what my day's gonna look like. As for like my notebooks, those are just a complete utter mess. Because like once I fill up a notebook, I don't want to get rid of it in case something happens to, like, God forbid something happens to my laptop, and like I need to like go back and access. That's where I'm just kind of like, okay, do I like buy a storage rental thing now?
I know.
So I can start putting my things away.
I know. Well, I hear you. I hear you there because I can't get rid of my notebooks either. I have projects from 10 years ago that I probably won't get back to you and stuff, but I can't get myself to get rid of it because who knows if I'm going to pull that character, that villain, that maybe just even the place, the realm that's there, like
Yeah.
so I can't. Or even just like the initial outlining of that storyline. Maybe I won't use any of those characters, any of those places, but that is something I want to jump off of, again. So I can't get myself. So I have a desk that's just full, like their drawers are full of my notebooks.
Yeah, I have one of those big plastic storage containers full of just like writing and notebooks and stuff at my parents' house. And my mom every year when it's springtime and it's like, time to reorganize the garage.
Time to clean.
Yeah, do the spring cleaning. She always asks me, "Is this the year I can finally get rid of it?" And I'm just kind of like, no.
Right. Never.
Yeah,
it's
like
never
I'm
gonna
do that. So I think what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna like when I go home this year, I think I'm gonna like just go and like type up everything
Okay.
that is in there and just like store it on my laptop.
Right.
And then finally give her back her storage.
Yeah, her little space.
Yeah, have like a little bonfire with like the notebooks and papers and stuff. And
Yeah.
But yeah, it's one of those that like I'd have stuff there that I wrote back in like high school, which obviously I
Gotcha.
don't like, publish or do anything with apart from like
Right.
maybe pick the bones for ideas.
Exactly. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, because that's what, when I look back at some of my older notebooks, there's so much, I'm just in a different headspace and like the trends, not that I usually run off of trends, but I feel like my writing still like with a book that's popular, things that are popular right now and stuff, you still ideas flow because of that. And so I look at some of them and they're very much, even though academies are becoming like a thing again, a lot of them were academy way or like even high schoolers. And I'm just not in that mindset to write like about high schoolers anymore and stuff. So that's where I might pull a storyline and just age it up a little bit, that kind of thing, or make some changes. But I just cannot get myself to, because there's still some really like good, I feel like because I didn't have so many kids at that time, I had, my brain was very unique ideas and stuff. And so I'm like, I can't quite get rid of them yet because it might unlock something down the road. Yeah. And I have, do you ever just pull, like the character didn't sit well, maybe it was a side character or something, pull a character from a different story that's kind of dead, you're not doing anything with it, and bring them in and now they're like one of the main characters or they're the bad guy or something like that. Have you ever done that?
Yeah, for sure. Like actually like the very first book that I ever wrote in high school that I like started where I was like, this is gonna be my bestseller. The writing was just terrible. It was all like, telling, not showing, and I was like, oh God, I can't believe. But then I did write it when I was like 17 and continued writing it.
And that's what it was still. I have so many stories like that too. I wish I actually, so I used to write them in, like all my stories were not on computer because I was afraid, someone's going to get on the computer and they're going to see what I wrote. So I would just handwrite all of my stories back then when I was in high school. That was my own like fear of someone's going to find it.
So, like that was that one actually was last year's NaNoWriMo project.
Oh, nice.
Like 10-ish years after I decided, okay, we're gonna take out the historical element because it was like historical romance. The guy that was supposed to be like the main character's love interest, he's now just a side character, and the best friend that was like supposed to be the just best friend side character. She's now the main love interest.
I love it.
So it got its like little weird twist, and it actually reads a lot better because like I remember like rereading some of like the stuff and thinking, God, like
yeah,
the main character and her best friend have like so much more chemistry.
Right, I was just gonna say that. Yep.
The main love interest. So yeah, it got like its little steampunk fantasy.
Oh, I love that.
And
Yeah.
now it's something I can work with.
Yeah, that's awesome. So is that when you're trying to work into a full-length novel then? Yeah. Yeah. That's awesome because it sounds I am utterly obsessed with anything steampunk right now. Like it's still a new kind of genre to me. I feel like it was really big like in the early 2000s, like movies and stuff like that kind of pulled it in a little bit.
Yeah, like I feel like it's still one of those that it's kind of like kept to like the cinematic world where if you think steampunk, you'll come up with, you know, movies or TV shows where it's like, oh, that's steampunk. But I feel like now, especially like in the indie author sphere, there's more room for it to kind of like start to grow.
Well, I'm sure there's more out there, but the only one that I can think of that I've read and loved was The Golden Compass that had those elements of steampunk and stuff like that within it. Obviously, it was also like a fantastical world and like all that stuff, but it had the they're not called blimps. What are they called? But it had that
airship.
Yeah, like that. That was really present in there, and gadgets were big and stuff. And so to me, that is very steampunk. And stuff. And that's what I love about it too. It almost takes almost new levels of world building and stuff. Very unique. It comes in with the inventors and there's always some element of magic, whether it's how they get their inventions or how they get them to work and stuff. But it's just so unique. I feel like there needs more. So I'm excited for that. Keep going.
Okay, I will. Yeah, it's kind of like left like a whole other like little because that's the one that I had the idea for, like kind of like a Great Gatsby meets The Stolen Heir, but steampunk fantasy.
Oh yeah.
That has kind of led to like a idea of kind of like within the same universe, kind of like a few different ideas for like, full-length novels. So
yeah, I love that. Yeah, and there's nothing better than that too. I mean, I do love a series, don't get me wrong, but I love when there's a series of books, but you can kind of read them throughout and you're not going to be confused. There's no strict order. Is that kind of what you're talking about? Where it's like it's the same world and maybe some characters come into play and cross paths, but they can be read in any kind of order and you won't be that confused.
Because like right now I have the one that would be like its own kind of like standalone, and then another one that would kind of be like a little duology.
Okay.
I feel like the story idea that I have is too long to just compress it into one, so it would be like two. But yeah, it's one of those that they could kind of overlap and you wouldn't necessarily have to read one or the other kind of within the same world. So
I like that. Yeah, that's super. My steampunk is similar in that way. Where right now I've got this like the specific story, but it's almost written more like a each book has its own plot and what's going on and stuff like that, and its own romance level. And then the other book, it's still got the same kind of characters and new characters get thrown in, but there's a whole different plot going on. There's a whole different thing. It's for this specific character, you know? So like right now, my one character, my two characters, I guess I should say, is Krill and Prima. And they've got this whole mafia. They were lovers from, or not really lovers, but they were like first love kind of thing. ripped apart because of social statuses and everything like that. And so now they're coming back together. Well, now he's like this big honcho kind of guy who wants to make changes. You know, he's rose up from, and she's all in with him against her father and stuff and fiance. And so they've got their own little story going on. But then there's like her best friend and stuff. And then her best friend is going to have the next book and they're going to have their own little thing and stuff. So I'm excited. I think that's fun. And it's creative for our brains too, you know? Sometimes writing a series can be like all in and then you're just like overwhelmed and burnout kind of thing. So
yeah, that's the thing with series is like I will go all in a series, but it's going to take a little while.
Right. Same. I'm the same. I don't know how people can pump them out so fast, like 3 books in a year. Oh my gosh, overwhelming.
Yeah. I mean, like, if all I was doing was just writing full time, I could do it.
Right.
But I'm also sure that my brain would suffer a little bit. Like, by the end of it, I feel like I'd be scraping the bottom of the barrel for the idea.
Yeah, I get that. We're similar. We're very similar in that way, and stuff. And I also think that's why I work on. Do you enjoy working on multiple projects?
Yeah. Because I feel like when I've kind of hit a limit with one, I can go to the other, and you know, it kind of almost restores the creativity for me because it's like, okay, so I've hit a wall with like, you know, this mermaid short story.
Right.
Now I'm gonna go and like start working on this book idea that I haven't touched in a couple of weeks, and oh look at that, the waters of creativity are flowing.
Yeah.
No. Up out there, it's like, okay, back to the short story. So
yeah, it is great, and I think it's great. And if our minds work similar, I think what helps me, why I work on multiple projects, and kind of why Vela is the perfect thing for me right now, is because I can go on like a certain high with a book. And these characters are really pushing for me to write these chapters, get this stuff out. But then after I get that out, it could be like 3-4 chapters. Then it's like a whole new scene is coming into play, you know?
Yeah.
And it's like I need to get re-inspired because I've gotten this out. Now I need to take a break, jump over to something else, get those chapters or whatever out. And then I also usually have, so like I like to say, I've got 2 main work in progresses that I really focus on that I would like to have fully published in, you know, ebook, hardback, all that, within a year's time. But then I've got 2 side projects that are more just to keep my brain flowing, to keep me daily writing. And they're just kind of fun, and I'm not really pressured into which direction it's going right now, you know? Just right.
Yeah, no, like I think it is, for me, at least it is important to have multiple things going because like you said, there's those ones that kind of just keep you going in terms of like writing where it's like this will just get me into that flow that I need to get into to then do the stuff instead of actually pressing where I'm like, oh, this has a deadline.
Exactly. Yeah. Because it's great to have deadlines. It's great to have goals. I've really been powered by that the last year and a half. But it's also like, I have to remember this is fun. This is, you know, and also I enjoy pushing my limits or trying to write in different styles kind of thing. And so that's where the steampunk one, it kind of started as that because it's definitely extra spicy compared to most of my stuff. It's very, yes, there's steampunk world building, but the world building isn't the like one of the main plots and like things that you really have to pay attention to. It's just more sprinkled in there and fun. It's more, this is probably my first one where it's more about the romance than it is the world building and the overall, I don't even know how to explain, like furthering a further plot line. Like this one book is just its own start to finish, done, you know, that kind of thing. And so it's mostly the romance and stuff like that that's pushing the story, that they will do anything to stay together, you know, that kind of stuff. So it's the first one I've ever done that, where most of mine, it is a series, or it is a much bigger, like once book one's done, then whoa, now we're pushed into something bigger, and stuff like that. So that's also fun with multiple works in progresses, is trying something new and seeing where that kind of goes, seeing if you even can do it.
Well, you can, like, I definitely believe in like putting your mind to it, and eventually you'll get there.
Yeah. And if you can't, then that was fine, and that was fun, and we'll go on to something else, right?
Okay, exactly.
Yeah. Like I said, it never hurts trying something, or like just to put yourself out there and be like, well, I gave it a shot, wasn't for me, you know, that kind of thing. And then let's see, what else did so with your snippets and stuff like that, do you find that sharing that really builds like a confidence, or do you still get real nervous?
I still get real nervous. Yeah, it's one of those that, like, I think, you know, even if I were to be like, you know, fully published, several, you know, books out on the shelf, a publishing deal with like the big five, I still feel like I would be nervous as hell to share.
Right. Yeah, I get that. And like when the book finally is out, like release day, be like, I gotta go hide in a little corner.
Yeah, I'd probably just like post my thing to be like, oh yay, my book is finally out in the world, and then just go hide in a monastery.
Have to go travel somewhere, not pay attention. Yeah, I feel like that would be me as well. There'd be a sense of excitement and stuff, but it would be such a like overwhelming nervousness that I'd be like, okay, but I also have to just ignore everything that day and walk away. Come back to it later. Yeah. I've definitely found that it does boost my confidence, but it also, I can get kind of overwhelmed with what to share. What is it that I'm trying to hook people with? You know, that kind of stuff. Where that's, I think, why I use social media. I'll put little polls up, because I'll be like, I want to share this, but what you kind of also want to make sure people are interested in what you share. You know,
I'm gonna start like doing polls as well, just because like it is, like you said, it's kind of hard to figure out, okay, well, what exactly of my snippets do I want to share? Like, what do I want the people to, you know, react to most? So I feel like I should probably like start putting polls more. That'll just make me maybe feel a little bit less intimidated when I get the post button.
Right. Well, and then sometimes I do have to take a step back though too, and just post maybe what it is that I want to share, because a lot of times it is everyone. If I put the spicy option, that ends up being like the most hit, and I'm like, I love spice, I love writing it, but I also want to make sure people know, like, I also love world building or sweet moments or battle
stuff.
Yeah, battle scenes. I love nothing, especially if magic is involved. I love that. I love writing. And the other thing too is when I share the snippets, I think that's why in my stories, I share like just my favorite clip from that day. Super unedited, probably gonna have a bunch of changes. It's super out of context, but I'm like, but it's kind of fun to just share, because then I'm just sharing what I enjoyed writing that day, you know, too. So people can get a taste of different things and don't always know which story I'm pulling from either. Which could be a bad marketing move. I'm not sure. I'm not good at marketing.
Oh no, like I feel like so long as people are excited about like what you're posting. Like you don't have to necessarily stick to just the one, like sharing everything from the one book or something. Like, yeah, variety hooks people.
Yeah, I hope so. Because that's what I've got 3 of the Kindle Vella stories going right now, and they're all different in their own. Like one is very dark fantasy romance. The other one's like we talked the steampunk, and then the other one's more of a whimsy, just court life fantasy, you know. And so that's kind of like my tester right now. I'm trying to do more than just 2 point of views and see how I can roll with that. We'll see. It's fun so far, but for me as the writer. So is there anything else that you are working on or wanting to chat about?
Just basically writing 6 short stories this month. Going to like build my website / start a blog. Start like create more social media following. Yeah, just basically trying to live the writer life.
Right. And I guess we could go further in on that blog too. So when you do start the blog, is it going to be like something you want to do daily, weekly? Is it going to just be what you wrote about that day?
It'll probably start off like a weekly thing.
Okay.
Just basically talking about like writing, like, you know, my journey as a writer / you know, writing tips and things that I've learned so far. And then probably like after a little while, it'll probably go down to like posting twice a month kind of a thing. Okay.
Yeah. So something that's there to keep your readers involved in knowing what you're doing and stuff like that, and a good way to find you and find out more about you and what you're doing, kind of a thing, but not something that's going to be overwhelming.
Yeah, exactly. Because the last thing I want to do is to, like, you know, give myself a heart attack trying to do it all between social media, actually writing, and
the querying process and all that. Yeah.
Because like the querying process for me is just kind of a thing of like I'm trying to make every query as individual as possible.
Okay.
Like, I've heard of some people that like, oh, it's better if you, like, you know, create like a template that you just kind of like easily change like the person's name or like the publisher's name and then send it out. And I feel like I was doing that in the beginning just to like save time and stuff, but now I'm like, no, I have to do it the right way.
Make it more personable, kind of a thing.
Make it more personable, especially like with literary agents. Like I do my due diligence of like, okay, who have you represented? Who do I feel like, you know, would line up with my story and be like, well, you represent so and so, so I think, like, you know, we'd have a good fit here. And just kind of make it more personable so that they'll be like, yes, I want to work with you.
Yeah It will. It'll happen. I feel it. It's coming. I know you're doing awesome. And I think that is important to make it a little bit more. I understand where some people are coming from with the template and stuff. It does probably save time, and it does probably kind of get it so they can get more out there and stuff. But there is something about it's the personal touches. I feel like you're doing it right.
Yeah, because I figure, like, you know, they read so many submissions every single day. Like, that's their whole job is to do submissions. That I feel like at this point in the game, they probably would be able to tell a templated submission from like this person actually took the time to
So, and isn't that gonna be the person that you would want to work with anyway? Is someone who took the time to realize, like, oh, let me read, this person's really putting their kind of heart into it, making it, you know, that kind of stuff. So you would think that that's the person you probably want to work with too, because you have a connection with them. You're working with them a lot during all this stuff. So once they choose you, and stuff, and I think you're doing everything correctly. I can't even imagine. Even the thought of querying like overwhelms me. So you're doing awesome.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, no, it is overwhelming. That's why I do like the small batches every month, or I'm like, tipping away.
That is smart though. That is really smart to do it that way. And then also, so with Nano, your goal, do you have like a word count, or is it just your goal is 6 stories?
My goal is 6 stories. Like I gave myself a word count goal of like 30,000 words.
Okay.
Just to kind of give myself wiggle room in case, one of those.
Well, and usually Nano asks for that.
Yeah. So so long as I finish 6 stories and I can say, okay, from start to finish, all 6 of these are completed.
Okay.
I will be happy. First. So if I'm like a little bit under the 30,000 words, like I'm okay with that.
Right. I know that's kind of where I was in April too. I gave myself kind of a word count, but my main goal was just to really get out words every day of that specific story that I was working on. And so I can't say that I failed it in April necessarily. Like I didn't reach that word count, but I did do a very good job at keeping myself accountable and writing every day and stuff like that. Are trying most of the days. Weekends are weird. Weekends are hard.
Yeah, weekends, like I'm trying to like do like at least an hour of writing every day on the weekend, because like weekends would come and I'd be like, oh, I have 2 whole days to just do writing. But I feel like by giving myself the whole weekend, I ended up like hindering myself a bit, because I'd be like, oh, well, I didn't get to it today on Saturday because I, went to the beach or I hung out with friends.
Right. Yeah. And then you get kind of down on yourself because you're like, oh, I went to the beach when I should have been writing. It's like, no, enjoy. You got to have that too. I get that.
Yeah. So definitely. Now my thing is like Saturdays, I get up around like 8, 9 in the morning. I make sure I'm in my coffee shop by 10. And so long as I get a solid hour of writing in there, I can, call it a day.
That is perfect. Yeah.
By Saturday afternoon at the bookstore, like there's farmers markets now, because like
nice. Yes.
terrible.
Yeah.
So I go to do those. I'll meet friends, etc.
Right.
Clean up around the house, all that
stuff. Oh yeah, because that tends, oh my gosh, and I get overwhelmed because I do that too, where it's like I want to write, and so my downtime, I forget I didn't do the dishes, I didn't scrub the floor that day or whatever, and I run a daycare too, so I'm like, things get real messy real fast, and so I then will be like, oh, I should have spent that time cleaning, I should have done that, but it's trying to find that balance of stuff. You definitely do. It's good. But I got 30 words out, or 30 minutes out of good, solid writing. Now go clean. That kind of stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. And that helps eliminate like all the feelings of guilt, because you feel guilty when you're spending an entire Saturday writing because you're like, oh, well, I need to, do the laundry. I need to like go grocery shopping for the week. I need to do this.
I need to pay attention to the other people in the household.
Exactly. But then, like, if you do all those other things and you don't write, you feel guilty for not writing. So I'm like, tiny little spurts.
Yes.
We can make it all happen.
It's true. It is. That is kind of the happy little. And then you also end up, by doing these spurts, you end up training yourself to, whether it's write faster, get more of the words, like forward writing. You can't go back and edit right now. Just get out the scene. You've only got this amount of time, because that's been so helpful. It's just learning that kind of way of writing. Get out what you need. Worry about it later.
because like if you give me like 4 hours of writing time, I'd say like 20 minutes of those were spent actually writing.
Yeah.
The rest was spent either browsing
Going
the internet because I'm like,
Oh.
oh, of course I need to look this up, or just like rereading what I've already written and being like,
Yeah.
I need to change this. Oh, I should probably like, take this scene out.
So really, you're just getting like a paragraph out because you just keep rewriting that paragraph. That was my problem big time. I did that a lot. And like you said, that is true. How many times during I even do it with my forward writing. I'm guilty a little bit. Go in and you'll be like, I need another word for this. Like what is another word, or define? There's often where I'm like, that word sounds right, but am I using it in the right context?
Exactly. And then like when you go and because for me it always starts off so innocently, like where it's like, oh, let me look up the definition of this word to make sure I'm using it right. It then turns into a thing of like, oh, but I'm already online, so let me pop over to Pinterest to like look at my Pinterest board to like
and get more inspiration.
Yeah. And it's like I'm suddenly scrolling Pinterest looking for like new ideas, and then suddenly Pinterest turns into, oh, well,
now all of a sudden I'm on TikTok.
Yeah. Like this is like a cute little reel montage that I can make for Instagram. So now like posting on Instagram, and then it snowballs really quickly. So like even things like for like looking up the thesaurus online or like the dictionary, those are now off limits for me. You can do that during the editing stage. You don't need to like worry about like having the same word twice in a paragraph. Like it's fine.
That's right. Later.
Yeah.
Later. Yeah. Oh yeah, that is. And I think that is all with growth as a writer and stuff. And I think that's also why, sure, I've always had this dream of writing for forever, for as long as I could remember. But I don't think I was ever fully there. There was always different parts of life that needed to come together, and I needed to grow as a writer. I do think I needed to find Bookstagram as well. And like I look at it now as there was little steps, and now I'm there. Am I only gonna ever always need improvement? Yes, 100%. There's always gonna be growth in every single thing that I write, every new book and stuff. But I think I really did need to take those steps. And do you feel the same way? Like,
oh yeah, for sure. Like the writer that emerged from like Trinity College a couple years ago is not the writer that I am today. Like, looking back, I remember I completed my master's and everything thinking, okay, I'm a real writer now. And like over the last couple years since then, like I really figured out that what I've needed to learn most is like discipline and self accountability. Like it's great to have like writing friends to have you be held accountable and stuff, but it's also like a lot on yourself to like do that as well. Little things like
that I'm always here. If you ever hit your goals, do not be afraid to hit me up and stuff. Even if we haven't talked for like 2 weeks or whatever, be like, I got out 10,000 words. I finished all 6 of my stories, because I'm here to hype you up. Like, yes, I'm so proud of you. Because there is something, I can understand the accountability groups are great, but I do understand that it can be overwhelming at the same time, as well. But I just love to I'm so thankful for you. I'm so thankful for so many others within the writing community. Just for like when I have a good day, I know I've got some people that I can go to and be like, I accomplished this and I'm so excited. And I thank you for helping me or believing in me or whatever it is, like that kind of stuff. There is something really great about the community. and stuff like that. And I just always want you to know, I guess, that I am, throw snippets at me. I'm happy to read that and just be like, awesome, I love it. Yeah.
Lovely time chatting with you. Like I always have fun chatting with you.
Yeah, me too. I love this. And I'm so thankful you wanted to come back on and talk more. This was really cool. We've never talked about anything traveling and stuff, talking about the blog and everything. It's very rare that anyone talks about websites and stuff. And that's a big, important step too, as an author. And it's a bummer Stacy couldn't be here, but I get it.
I'm like, yeah.
Yeah. No, she's got still a lot going on and everything. She's talking about one that pumps out books. Stacy, you are a rock star.
I know. Like I saw her thing, I think the Deal with the Devil that's
yeah
coming out. Yeah, like she definitely pumps him out. I'm like, you go, girl.
I love it. She is always talking about someone who inspires me. So you couldn't be here, but we are still so excited for you, and keep going. You inspire us.
Yeah, definitely.
But okay, well, this has been awesome. I am always come on whenever you want. I'm sure I'll be talking to you again soon.
Yeah. And if you ever want to, like, have me read stuff for you and that, like, yeah.
Yeah. Well, there's actually that news story now that you brought that up. I might be hitting you up because there's a little siren twist in there. And I thought you hit me up the last time with my siren story. And I'm like, you know what? She'd probably appreciate that. So thank you for that. But like I've always said, I'm here. I'm always here for you. So I'm going to say goodbye. And